Yesterday, the Prime Minister was reduced to begging those same MPs to save his own skin.
When I said we wouldn't be dragged into that wall because I thought through the consequences, including the economic consequences, what did she do? She said we should jump in with both feet without regard to the consequences. She can't complain now about the implications.
Mr. Speaker, I think the whole country is sick of this man's tone-deaf, pompous moralising. It's been one disaster after another. Cronyism, jobs for friends of convicted paedophiles, peerages for other friends of convicted paedophiles, broken promises on taxes, U-turn after U-turn after U-turn. He's lost a Deputy Prime Minister, 2 Chiefs of Staff, 2 Cabinet Secretaries, the support of his backbenchers and all his credibility. Yes.
My duty is to protect the British public from the consequences, and nothing is going to distract me from what matters to the British public. Mr. Speaker, the state visit by His Majesty the King is a powerful reminder of the deep and special relationship we have with the United States. Mr. Speaker, in this session of Parliament, this Labour government has delivered the biggest upgrade in workers' rights in a generation, the biggest improvement in renters' rights in a generation, and more action than any other government to tackle child poverty. At the King's speech, I look forward to setting out what more we will do to change our country for the better. Mr. Speaker, this morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others. I shall have further such meetings later today.
Rinder Singh Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I firstly thank you for meeting with me recently to view a 1,000-paper crane folded by residents in Bearwood as a recognition of the diversity of Smethwick in which neighbours and communities just get on with each other. Mr. Speaker, residents in my Smethwick constituency and across Sandwell benefit from the lowest council tax in the West Midlands, investment in new leisure centres, parks and all our libraries kept open. Sandwell's the 3rd best in the country for fixing potholes, expanded breakfast clubs, free school meals and cheaper school uniforms for our children. Does the Prime Minister agree that this is all down to well-run Labour Sandwell Council and the changes brought back by this government, this Labour government, opposed at every opportunity by the Tories and Reform?
Can I thank him for his work to give every child the best start in life in his constituency? And I'm very glad that this government has done more than any other government to lift children out of poverty. Mr. Speaker, thanks to our work this session on this side of the House, we've passed laws needed to deliver more rights at work, build new homes, save British steel, clean up waterways, secure our borders and record funding of our NHS and so much more. Change delivered by Labour, opposed by the Tories and Reform.
We come to the Leader of the Opposition, Kemi Badenoch.
Thank you. It's the end of this session, and what a contrast with the beginning, Mr. Speaker. Back in July 2024, those benches were full of sycophantic questions from adoring new MPs. Yesterday, the Prime Minister was reduced to begging those same MPs to save his own skin. Mr. Speaker, he's broken his promise to grow the economy. The only thing that's grown is the welfare bill. The only thing that's grown is the welfare bill. So can the Prime Minister tell us, how many more people are out of work and claiming universal credit since he took office?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, she talks about what we've done in relation to raising people out of work. We have the youth guarantee that we've put in place for young people. We've raised the national minimum wage thanks to our Chancellor. We've helped young people into work by cutting NHS waiting lists thanks to the work of the Health Secretary. We've put more police on the streets thanks to the work of the Home Secretary. And we've cut energy bills for young people thanks to the work of the Energy. I'm very proud of what this Labour government has delivered in the first session of this Parliament.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister doesn't want to say how many more people, in fact, are out of work and claiming universal credit since he took office. Perhaps he doesn't know. So let me tell him. The number is 1.5 million people. That is the entire population of Leeds, Cardiff and Edinburgh put together. Hard-working people are being taxed more and more to pay for a ballooning benefits bill. So can the Prime Minister tell us why, on his watch, for the first time ever, we are now spending more on welfare than we earn in income tax?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the welfare system she complains of is the one they put in place, Mr. Speaker. And, Mr. Speaker, we are reforming it to improve it. And what did they do when we put that forward? They voted to keep the same broken welfare system.
Mr. Speaker, that answer was as honest as his reason for sacking Ollie Robbins. Perhaps he'd like to apologise for that right now. Let me tell him why we're spending more on welfare than we're earning in tax. It's because of him and his terrible policies. This is all under him. We are spending so much on welfare, we cannot afford to defend the country. And if he won't listen to me, Mr. Speaker, perhaps he'll listen to the former Labour Defence Secretary, Lord Robertson, who is saying, and I quote, "We cannot defend Britain with an ever-expanding welfare budget." I agree with Lord Robertson. Why doesn't he?
Mr. Speaker, this is the Labour government that increased defence spending, the highest sustained spend since the Cold War. What did they do, Mr. Speaker? When they came into power, defence spending was 2.5%, and when they left power, it was 2.3%. And even their own Secretary of State admitted they hollowed out our armed forces, so we'll take no lectures from them on defence.
Mr. Speaker, talking about more defence spending is not the same as giving more money for defence. He has been in office for nearly 2 years, Mr. Speaker. What he does have, he's got a welfare plan until 2031, but he's not produced a defence investment plan. We have gone backwards on defence under him because we are borrowing to pay for welfare. Yesterday, we learned that the cost of government borrowing is now the highest in 2 decades. That's under him. Instead of getting a grip on the economy, the Chancellor is briefing out rent controls to curry favour with left-wing backbenchers. This is not a serious way to run the economy. It is time the Prime Minister gives her an easier job. So will he listen to businesses, listen to the country and reshuffle the Chancellor?
Mr. Speaker, at the spring statement, the Chancellor was very proud to say inflation was down to 3% and falling, 6 interest rates in a cut. We've seen the growth figures for the early part of this year. And she says, well, the cost of borrowing's gone up. Yes, because there's a conflict in Iran. And what did she want to do? What did she want to do when I said we wouldn't be dragged into that war because I thought through the consequences, including the economic consequences? What did she do? She said we should jump in with both feet without regard to the consequences. She can't complain now about the implications.
Mr. Speaker, I didn't hear him say he's not reshuffling the Chancellor. It sounds like she's toast. Meanwhile, the former Deputy Prime Minister is on manoeuvres. This government is like a bad episode of Game of Thrones. His own people have turned against him, and all the while, the Prime Minister is holed up in his castle, wetting himself about a visit from the King in the North. Yesterday, Mr. Speaker, one Labour MP actually said that his days are numbered. That's one of them. I wonder who it was, because they're all looking guilty as hell. Isn't the real reason, Mr. Speaker, isn't the real reason the Prime Minister can't cut welfare that he squandered all his political capital saving his own skin?
Mr. Speaker, she talks about political games. That's what she was doing yesterday. This House considered our motion and rejected it decisively because everyone saw it for what it was, a desperate, baseless political stunt ahead of the May elections. And, Mr. Speaker, whilst she and they were playing games here, I was chairing a meeting in Cobra, going through the contingencies and managing our war in the Middle East. Mr. Speaker, they think political games here is more important than managing the implications of the war in the Middle East, which will affect every single one of their constituents. And none of them ask any questions about it. None of them want to debate it. They just want to debate silly political stunts. Because, Mr. Speaker, even though we didn't join the war, no thanks to her, my duty is to protect the British public from the consequences, and nothing is going to distract me from what matters to the British public.
Mr. Speaker, I think the whole country is sick of this man's tone-deaf, pompous moralising. Last week, we all saw him punch the Speaker's chair. This is not a man who is in control. Since the last King's speech, it's been one disaster after another. Cronyism, jobs for friends of convicted paedophiles, peerages for other friends of convicted paedophiles, broken promises on taxes, U-turn after U-turn after U-turn. He's lost a Deputy Prime Minister, 2 Chiefs of Staff, 2 Cabinet Secretaries, the support of his backbenchers and all his credibility. Yes. They can jeer, Mr. Speaker, they can jeer as much as they like. They're going to have to go to their constituencies and explain to all those people why they did what they did last night. The fact is the Prime Minister was reduced to whipping his MPs to save him and pleading with a tax dodger to rejoin his cabinet. How much longer do we all have to put up with his shambles?
Mr. Speaker, I changed my party and I won a general election. She's changed her party, Mr. Speaker, because when I became leader of my party, their party was 3 times the size it is now. She's changed it. It's now even smaller than when she started at leader, because half of them are up there. And, Mr. Speaker, the stunt they played yesterday because they don't like what we're delivering. More rights at work, more security for renters, lifting 500,000 children out of poverty. That's our mandate, that's our mission, and nothing's going to hold us back.
It was 18 months ago, I remember, that my late friend Terry Etherton was sitting up there, beaming down at the Prime Minister because he had just announced the government scheme to give compensation to those who've been wrongly sacked from the armed forces for simply being gay. But I have a constituent, Mr. Speaker, who lost his job in MI6 in the 1980s for his sexuality, and he's got no compensation. The security services also put their lives on the line for their country. It's just not fair. Would the Prime Minister find the time to sit down with my constituent and me so that we can work out together a way in which we can extend Terry's scheme so that the security services can also get justice?
Prime Minister.
Can I thank her for her dedicated work on this? I am very proud of the work we've done to recognise LGBT veterans. Mr. Speaker, on top of that, people in our security service are some of the bravest and most talented professionals who served our country. That some of them lost their jobs because of their sexuality is a historic wrong. And I can confirm today the Security Minister is assessing this closely, and I'll make sure that she's updated and has the meeting she's asked for.
Send David, Leader of the Liberal Democrats.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yesterday, we heard Christian Turner, Peter Mandelson's replacement as US Ambassador, say that the only country Trump has a special relationship with is Israel, that the Prime Minister's job is in danger after next week's elections, and that in the US, Jeffrey Epstein's associates have evaded responsibility for their actions. The Prime Minister has had to fire 1 US ambassador for lying. Does he fear he'll now have to fire a second one for telling the truth?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, given what I've had thrown at me in the last 2 weeks by all the opposition parties, that's the least of my problems. But, Mr. Speaker, I know he likes stunts, but I was surprised he joined in the one yesterday, because his own business spokesman said last week, satisfied I had not misled the House. He, of course, his opening position was it was inconceivable that officials would give clearance to Mandelson and not tell ministers it was against the UK SV recommendation. That's what he said, and it didn't happen. I expect frivolous accusations from the Leader of the Opposition. Clearly, I was wrong to expect anything better from the man in the wetsuit.
Mr. Speaker, I've got my dry suit on today, and let me tell the Prime Minister that when Boris Johnson was faced with that motion, he didn't whip his MPs. There was a difference there. And Mr. Speaker, experts are warning that food prices will rise by 10% this year as farmers' costs soar. Trump's war has exposed how weak Britain's food security is. Yet under the system brought in by the Conservatives, England is the only country in Europe where farm payments don't actively support farmers to produce food. So will the King's Speech include a good food bill to fix that mistake and make sure people can afford the food they need?
Mr. Speaker, of course food security is important, and that's why I was considering that amongst other issues in the ministerial meetings yesterday in Cobra. That's what I was spending my afternoon doing, making sure that we were prepared and managing the risks of a conflict that will affect every single one of our constituents. What was he doing? He was wasting his time in here on a baseless allegation and engaging in party political. He should have been working on the single most important issue of the day, but he wasted his time on a baseless political stunt.
Chris Hinchcliffe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The war in Iran has exposed how dangerously reliant we are on imports for our food, fuel and medicine. But the reality is that climate breakdown will make the current instability look trivial. Will the Prime Minister use the upcoming King's Speech to address this fact and redirect our economy towards food security, energy security and security in supply of our medicines?
Well, Prime Minister, he's absolutely right to highlight the real risk of climate change, both internationally and at home. And I'm proud, Mr. Speaker, we've restored the UK's position as a global leader on climate action. And that means cutting emissions with our carbon budget, investing £7 billion in nature recovery, and driving ahead with renewables. They're the right steps to protect supply chains, protect our economy, and to protect working people.
Stephen Flynn.
Mr. Speaker, depending upon results in the elections next week, this may well be my final PMQs. I suppose. I suppose, Mr. Speaker, the same is perhaps true for the Prime Minister as well. But before then, does he understand that, yes, it's because of inaction on the cost of living crisis, yes, it's because of the debacle of the winter fuel payment, yes, it's because of the 1,000 jobs being lost a month in Scotland's North Sea and the closure of Grangemouth, yes, it's because of his judgment on Matthew Doyle and Peter Mandelson, but above all else, the reason why his time in office will soon be coming to a close is because he promised change but has delivered chaos.
Prime Minister, Speaker, I'm proud of what this Labour government has achieved, and I'm proud of what we will achieve. If it is his last session here, let's reflect on his great achievements in Westminster. He kicked out his predecessor and then lost 39 MPs at the next election. I hope he can keep up that record in Holyrood next week.
Rushanara Ali.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This Labour government's £29 billion of investment in the NHS and £2 billion in life sciences is critical to fixing our NHS and tackling health inequalities. The Barts Life Sciences cluster in Whitechapel will become one of Europe's leading NHS-centred clusters, and we've already secured £800 million in private investment. Will the Prime Minister direct the Office for Investment to co-sponsor this initiative and ensure the National Wealth Fund co-invests so we can turn East London's health inequalities into into a driver for UK life sciences growth, transforming the future of healthcare in London, the UK and globally?
Prime Minister.
I'm proud that Labour is investing in life sciences, and I thank my honourable friend for championing this project for over a decade. The National Wealth Fund is designed to co-invest alongside private investors. Ministers are happy to discuss those proposals with her. Mr Speaker, today I can announce a significant new investment by AstraZeneca, investing £300 million in UK life sciences, made possible by the pharmaceutical arrangement we have struck with the United States to future-proof thousands of jobs in Macclesfield and in Cambridge. That is a major vote of confidence in the UK and Labour's plans to strengthen our economy.
Sir John Hayes.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. In an earlier answer, the Prime Minister made clear that he understands that global uncertainty makes national economic resilience ever more important, and that energy security and food security are central to that. So why is policy making one the enemy of the other, as the 12% of our most fertile, productive land, the food we need to feed the nation, is being eaten up by giant industrial developments, pylons with accompanying infrastructure and huge solar developments? Will the Prime Minister meet me and colleagues that feel similarly? Because by corroding Britain's food security now, we risk compromising our nation's future.
Well, it's right to raise food security, and obviously that is one of the resiliences that we need in this country and we need to protect in this country. But we also do need to move to secure independence of energy. Because one thing that is making life so much harder for all of those in the food sector is that their energy prices go up every time an international conflict affects the prices here. By getting energy independence, which requires the infrastructure, we can protect them from that and therefore make them more resilient.
Anna Dixon.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Like many MPs, I'll be heading up to my constituency later to campaign in the local elections. When I'm out on the doors talking to voters in the Shipley constituency, I'm proud of the difference this Labour government is making. Renters no longer worried thanks to secure tenure. Families supported by free breakfast clubs and extended free childcare support, and workers no longer on exploitative zero-hours contracts. What is the Prime Minister most proud of, and what is his message for voters in my Shipley constituency and across the UK?
Well, I thank her for her question, and this is the first government for generations to take key services back into public ownership, Mr Speaker. The first government to give rights and powers to workers, rents and the less fortunate, and the first government in a generation to invest in public services and lift children out of poverty. And as we face a war on two fronts, we will do more: a stronger economy, stronger energy security and stronger on defence. That's the difference this government is making.
Sir Jeremy Wright.
Very much, Mr Speaker. Many of us across this House worked hard to pass the Online Safety Act. Not because we thought it would be the last word on online safety, but because we believed it was an important step forward in making online platforms more accountable for the content on their services and for the algorithms that curate it. So can the Prime Minister reassure us that whatever his government decides to do to restrict access for our young people to social media, it will not be used as cover by social media companies to do less themselves to keep young people safer online?
Can I give him that assurance, because those platform providers do need to take responsibility, and he will have noticed the fight we had with Grok just a few months ago, where disgusting images were being created on social media, and we took them on in a fight that we won across the House. Also with chatbots, but we need to build on the legislation we've got. We definitely need more protection in general, and particularly for children. But his point is valid, that shouldn't be to take any responsibility away from those that are providing the platforms in the first place.
Natasha Adams.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. £158 million in fair funding, £20 million in Pride in Place for New Addington, and funding for new trams. Mr Speaker, it is this Labour government that is finally giving Croydon the backing that it needs. The building of Croydon for all starts with ensuring our residents have the dignity and stability of a decent home. So with hundreds of families in my constituency facing homelessness through no-fault evictions, will the Prime Minister outline how this government is progressing on its plans to fix the private renter sector and ensure that renters in Croydon have the security and peace of mind that they deserve?
Well, my honourable friend is a brilliant representative for Croydon, and she's right. For too long, renters have been at the mercy of rogue landlords, pushing thousands into homelessness. I'm delighted to confirm that this Friday, no-fault evictions will be scrapped once and for all. That sends an important message to anyone living in a damp, unsafe home, anyone who's suffered an unfair rent increase, and to every family forced to move over the last year to year. Change is here, delivered by Labour, opposed by the Tories, and reform every step of the way.
Dr. Luke Evans.
Please could the Prime Minister explain to the House, if he's done nothing wrong and process has been followed, why did he need to force his MPs to vote against an investigation? Is it because he's worried they don't believe his version of the truth?
Yes.
No, it's because they can see a baseless allegation, a political stunt, when they see it. Mr. Speaker, as a former GP, here's the truth. We've recruited 82 more GPs, upgraded his medical centre. They want all the benefits, but they never want to pay for them.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Derby is a manufacturing powerhouse, but too many people in our city have not felt the benefit of that success. That's why tomorrow we're absolutely delighted to be launching Team Derby with our East Midlands Mayor, Claire Ward. Does the Prime Minister agree that with our brilliant Chancellor and our Labour government backing our city, Team Derby can make sure every pound of investment in Derby delivers real change for our residents, so everyone feels part of our success story?
Prime Minister.
Well, I think we should all back Team Derby. Our investment is helping to renew our submarine fleet, building new nuclear reactors and creating jobs and growth. I'm proud to see Labour MPs working with the Labour Mayor and a Labour government to deliver a brighter future for Derby.
Ollie Glover.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Despite the government's ambitious house-building targets, the charity Shelter believes the current approach is not providing enough social and genuinely affordable homes. So will the Prime Minister end his government's warm embrace of the developer-led model and instead heed Liberal Democrat calls for 150,000 social homes per year and new powers for local councils to build them?
Mr. Speaker, we are going to build 1.5 million homes. We're upgrading the rights of renters because we know how important it is for everyone to have a safe and secure roof over their head. His challenge to me would have more force if they hadn't abstained on the measures that we're taking in order to take these measures forward.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Whilst our NHS across England has seen noticeable improvements thanks to the work of this Labour government, Southend Hospital and the wider Mid and South Essex NHS Trust has continued to struggle. I thank the Department for Health and Social Care for working with me and my colleagues on this issue and for placing the Trust on the Intensive Recovery Programme. Does the Prime Minister agree with me that this is the right action to take, and will he meet with me to discuss our wider plans to improve healthcare in Southend as part of our Opportunity Southend initiative?
Prime Minister.
After years of failure being tolerated, failing staff and patients, our new intensive recovery programme is targeting sites that need tailored support. Mr. Speaker, there's more to do, but we're seeing real progress across our NHS. They've never heard this from a government. Waiting list lowest for 3 years. That didn't happen for 14 years. Any waiting times best for 5 years. They don't recognise any of this because they didn't do any of it. Fastest ambulance response in half a decade. And don't forget the parties opposite opposed the record investment that was necessary to make all of that happen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Everything international law is supposed to protect is being violated. A genocide against the Palestinian people, the catastrophe in Sudan, the Gazification of Lebanon. Against this backdrop, the government last week closed the International Humanitarian Law Unit and stopped funding access
to the CIR database of 26,000 human rights and conflict incidents across Israel, Palestine and Lebanon. This database underpins decisions on IHL breaches, arms export suspensions and whether the UK itself is acting within the law. Usually, criminals or their accomplices are the ones destroying evidence of their crimes. Instead, not a human rights lawyer or a government apparently committed to upholding international law. So my question is simple.
Prime Minister. Sir, you've taken far too long, Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, let me reassure the House that the work of the International Law Unit has not ended. It will simply be done by a different team under a restructure. We will, of course, continue to monitor international humanitarian law in Gaza and elsewhere and invest in conflict prevention and resolution.
The picture.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This Labour government has backed the reopening of Doncaster Sheffield Airport from the very start. It means jobs, investment, growth and opportunities, not just for Doncaster East and the Isle of Axholme, but for the whole region. Now, the Reform councillors in Doncaster are considering reversing their decision to support the investment, which would currently facilitate that airport from reopening. Does the Prime Minister agree with me that the airport remains a huge priority for the area, and will he continue to work with us to find a way forward to make sure that we get our airport back open?
Well, my honourable friend is a champion for this crucial local project, and I thank him for his work. And I know from visiting Doncaster just how vital reopening the airport is for local residents. It will be a huge boost for South Yorkshire and unlock thousands of jobs. I'm deeply concerned by reports that decisions by Reform in Doncaster could put the reopening in jeopardy. Labour put the plan in place. Reform should honour their promises, stop playing games and get the airport open.
Robin Swan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. In a parliamentary session which started out with a degree of anticipation, a level of expectation and a promise of change, and what could be the last Prime Minister's question time, can I ask him, why does he think it went so wrong? Was it his failure to support our WASPy women, his failure to support our farmers, or his failure to support our Northern Ireland veterans and victims of the Northern Ireland Troubles? Or was it those around him who seem more interested in themselves than the country?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm very proud, this government's very proud of the biggest upgrade in workers' rights in a generation, the biggest upgrade in renters' rights in a generation, and the most any government has ever done to reduce child poverty. They will have a lasting impact on working people across the United Kingdom. That's the change we're bringing about, and I look forward to continuing it.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As this parliamentary session draws to a close, it seems a good moment to reflect on the legislation passed since the general election. Not all of it, of course, but many of us have walked through the lobbies to pass 60 bills that have touched almost every aspect of British life, from the care of cats, dogs and ferrets to the space industry indemnities, along with a whole host of measures seeking to improve life for renters, carers, investors, football fans, NHS patients, serving personnel and more. Would the Prime Minister agree with me that this is a pretty good first session report card? And would he agree that the best is yet to come?
Mr. Speaker, she's right to highlight the 50 pieces of legislation, the 50 bills that we've put through. We whipped to change the country. We all voted to change the country. They, of course, opposed almost all of it. That's why we've got stronger rights for renters. That's why we've got stronger rights for workers, investing in our roads and railways, reforming SEND and driving down waiting lists, all opposed by the parties opposite. And we're only just getting started, Mr. Speaker. We're going to go further on a stronger economy, on energy security and a stronger defence.
Final question, Sarah Gibson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Before we leave this House for several weeks,
I feel absolutely necessary to raise an issue within my constituency, which I have been trying to get an answer from DEFRA and from the EA, where we have a landfill site in Caen that is producing sulphurous smells that is causing residents to need to close their windows, causing children to have sore throats. And yet I am not getting any answer except that the Environment Agency itself admits that controls may not be working effectively. Like my constituents, I find it really disappointing that we are not getting any serious response. This is not the kind of thing you expect in the UK. You do not expect the air you breathe not to be safe. And I would like to urge the Prime Minister to help me in getting a response from DEFRA and from the EA on what measures can be put in place to reassure my constituents that they are not suffering ill health. Thank you.
Well, can I thank her for raising the issue? Now she has raised it with me, I will make sure that I go away and chase up that she gets the reply and importantly, that they are entitled to.
That completes Prime Square. Catherine West, point of order.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The whole House will be very concerned to hear about the dreadful stabbings this morning in the borough of Barnet, and as the member for Hornsey and Fry and Barnet, I'm very worried about this repeated violence against the Jewish community. And Mr. Speaker, I just wanted to reach out to the whole House to say we condemn these alleged attacks, and we wish the police, the council and all of the community services the very best in solving this and bringing to justice those perpetrators of these violent crimes.
Prime Minister, would you want to respond?
Yeah, can I first thank her for raising this issue, which I had learnt about before Prime Minister's questions. It is deeply concerning to everyone in this House. There is now a police investigation, and I think we all need to do everything we can to support that investigation and be absolutely clear in our determination to deal with any of these offences, the like of which we've seen too much recently.
Okay. Point of order, John MacDonald.
Mr. Speaker, as you know, as Secretary of the NUJ Parliamentary Group, I raised earlier this week a point of order concerning the US agency APCO's role in undertaking an investigation of journalists for Labour Together, which resulted in the smearing of those journalists. I explained that as a result of concern about the reach of APCO's investigation, a number of honourable members had submitted subject interest requests to the company and to Labour Together. There's been a delay in the response from Labour Together to these requests, but APCO has confirmed in a very redacted form that information on MPs was being collected. And I referred this week to information from a whistleblower, a freelancer involved in the Labour Together inquiry, indicating that APCO had instructed this person to destroy files and material related to the inquiry. Only hours ago on the Financial Times online, we have confirmed that tapes do exist that include conversations by APCO's Head of Media Relations for Europe, Tom Harper, discussing the deletion of an email account and saying, and I quote, whether they will be able to see that through digital forensics or something like that, references with regard to this inquiry. He also refers to processes to muddy the waters and the audit trail. There is also now, I can report, if I can, Mr. Speaker, I'm sorry for the delay, I can also report that evidence was submitted to the inquiry by Sir Laurie Magnus, the Prime Minister's ethics advisor, by Paul Holden, one of the journalists who were victims of the smears, but the evidence was not supplied by the Cabinet Office to the Secretariat to the inquiry to Laurie Magnus. On behalf of the NUJ Parliamentary Group, I want to express our concern, but also it is important from the NUJ Parliamentary Group, we are concerned about the smearing of journalists, but we also need to know what, if any, surveillance of honorary members was taking place and for what purposes. And we call again for an independent inquiry into APCO's role and Labour Together's role in this issue.